YouTube so people can watch, and then you can go back afterwards and cringe, which is what I do all the time. Like, do I really sound like that? So just so you know.
On that same point, if you'll just speak into the microphone, because it's really, you can't hear on YouTube unless you're right up to the mic. So.
Yes, I pulled all your microphones a lot closer to you than they normally are. So this is really what YouTube needs. The room can hear you here, but YouTube really needs this for some reason. So it's very demanding.
Are they always live? Like, can we turn them off and then back
No.
on, or they
No,
are always live?
It's live.
No, the YouTube is live, but you can turn off your mic by pressing the push button. And then it's no longer on. And then you press the button again, and the green light turns on.
For these up here, you have to press and hold.
You have to hold it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, It's only
He can push his off and on, but
Oh, okay. Always on.
We're more on the record. Then.
All right, good evening, Planning Commissioners. We will call this meeting to order tonight on April 14th, 2026. And we need to elect a chair and a vice chair tonight. So, if you would.
Chair Pro Tem first.
Yes, let's elect Chair Pro Tem first. And if you'll just put forth your nominations.
for the pro tem, Tyler. I nominate Tyler for the pro tem.
Oh boy.
I'll second that.
Oh boy. Real quick. It's just interim.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Patching has been nominated as the Chair Pro Tem. Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have achieved the Pro Tem Chair status.
Yes.
Okay.
And
You
then
can
you'll
just
move.
go ahead and,
Just
Takes over.
open the
Okay.
meeting
Yes.
as normal.
Yes, your first order of business needs to be electing a chair and vice chair, so that will be taken out of order on the agenda.
So don't proceed with the.
No, just handle the election of the chair and the vice chair, and then the chair,
Okay.
permanent chair, will run the meeting.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Tonight we're have some business to do, obviously. Welcome, commissioners. Do we have some nominations for it's the chair and the co-chair?
Yeah, chair first,
Chair first.
then the co-chair after.
I have a nomination. I'll nominate Hunter Huffman as the chair.
I second the nomination.
Any other nominations for chair? Okay. Any discussion of any sort?
The new guy.
How does Hunter feel about
You
it?
sat there.
Hey, they put my name here. I don't.
All right, so we'll call for a vote on this. All in favor of nominating Hunter as the chair?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, the next order of business. Should
Vice chair.
we hand it over to Hunter at this point?
Okay, we need a vice chair. Do we have any?
I'll nominate Ralph.
Hey,
I second the nomination.
okay. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, or are there any other nominations before we? Okay. Well, all in favor.
Aye.
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 Welcome, Ralph. You're new here, aren't you? Okay, well, now with that business out of the way, we will call to order this Planning Commission. Thank you, everybody, for coming. First, I'd like to get an approval of the agenda. Were there any modifications, Josh? Anything? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
And I need a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now we'll need an approval for the minutes from last Planning Commission. Any modifications, anything else that wasn't addressed? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes for March 10th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, nothing on the consent agenda we handled the items on the administrative session, so we will jump right into our legislative session, which the first item on that section is Springville Community Development requests an amendment to the general plan future land use map designation from commercial to mixed use part on parcels 231550 and 231551. Located at approximately 1450 and 1300 North Main Street, respectively.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. So the general plan, especially for the new commissioners, the first thing you're getting hit with the core part of your role. The general plan, land use designation and the general plan. So the general plan land use map, it's a policy level vision for how an area of the city should develop over time. This is the general plan land use map out of the currently adopted general plan. This map has evolved and is maintained online, but this is what a general plan land use map looked like 15 years ago. The zoning, which we'll consider also tonight, is the regulatory tool that actually governs land use, like uses, setbacks, height limits, designs. It's actually the law. And this very attractive table over here is part of our land use matrix that says what uses are permitted in what zones. So how are they related? The general plan, long-term direction and policy. The zoning implements the vision through enforceable regulations, the law. Or simply, the general plan is what the community wants to happen, the direction that the city council as the elected representative of the community, their policy. And the zoning is the law that makes it happen. So tonight we're going to start talking about a general plan amendment. And the procedure for amending the general plan is following. And the thing to remember is that the general plan is a policy document, so we're having a policy discussion and making a policy recommendation here. So what should we do? The Planning Commission holds a public hearing and then makes a recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council takes the ultimate legislative action. The Council considers a recommendation and often does take public comment, although they are not required to do so, and then they enact the amendment or vote on the amendment. For a zoning amendment, it's the same process. It's just now we're thinking about actual regulation, actual laws, the specifics of how we implement the vision, the rules. So coming to North Main Street, these two parcels shown here are the subject parcels for the evening. North Main Street is really what I consider a historic inner city highway. People might not think, oh, it's not that historic, but historic being that it's been there for a long time. And there actually are some interesting historic resources in the North Main Street area, like the W.W. Clyde shop and the Strong shops that's now the Rustica building.
And the Ferg sign that's still there.
Empty.
Empty.
So now I know what it said.
Ralph will remember that.
So not long ago, this aerial is from 1995. I was in high school. Well, I was in 9th grade. And there was very little up here. Clarkville was making its way north, and the small subdivision just to the east of the Sage Inn was constructed. But there was no Mill Pond Road. There was no 1400 North continuing east. Brand X was there, and the bar was there, and Strong Shops were there. But it really was much like it has looked forever.
Long time.
So the development we've seen here has really all happened over the last 30 years, barring the historic kind of industrial development. The current designation is commercial, and the proposed designation is mixed use for those two pieces. So the commercial designation specifically limits the possible zones you can apply to that zone to zones that only allow commercial uses. But those uses can be very broad. For example, in the highway commercial use, you can do the outdoor storage of trailers and boats. So you could have a like kind of trailer storage yard on this piece currently, or a store, an office, a guitar shop, really a wide range of commercial uses. The current planning for this area, the work we've been doing in the Main Street North Gateway Plan, identifies this as the gateway area. As you see this little outline here, kind of the core of this northern area, and recommends that it be a mixed-use area with higher intensity than along the rest of the corridor. So this is kind of a node or a peak in development along the corridor. And some of the desired uses include single-family attached, so that's like townhomes, twin homes, multi-family units of different types, retail, vertical mixed use, like retail under residential for retail or office, hospitality, and office. Under construction right now is, if any of you've driven the corridor, you can see there's a substantial office project with the WW Clyde, or the Clyde Company's corporate headquarters that's under construction on the southwest corner of that intersection, which will be the largest office building in Springville when it's completed. The current policy in the general plan for that's related to this decision today are divided into objectives and strategies. I usually don't like to have a lot of words on slides, but I wanted these objectives and policies to be readable. So the first one that's applicable is Objective 2 under the land use section in the general plan. And it specifically deals with both making new, so make new and maintain existing cohesive residential neighborhoods, so residential neighborhoods that feel together, with a wide variety of housing types and densities, and that include the services and amenities that contribute to desirable, stable neighborhoods. A strategy to implement that objective is to use rear property lines or natural edges such as creek, hillsides, and open space corridors to transition between land uses rather than local streets. This is very applicable to this site as both parcels have some substantial grade climbing from Main Street upwards in elevation to the east as they approach the single family and twin home and developments to the east. Now, Objective 3 under that land use title says that we should have it as our objective to include a variety of appropriately located multifamily housing units to help ensure a variety of housing types within the city. And under Strategy 3E, it says to implement this objective, we should consider including residential components in commercial property redevelopment for areas adjacent to existing neighborhoods, which is also directly applicable to these subject parcels. Objective 4 under the land use section directs us to provide conveniently located commercial and professional office uses to serve the residents of Springville and surrounding areas, with the strategies to establish design and material standards, to amend ordinances to allow for mixed-use commercial areas at appropriate locations, and to consider decreasing commercially zoned property and increasing residentially zoned property to help ensure a better citywide land use balance. In your staff report, we provided some analysis on all of these points and how they specifically relate to this project. But to 4G, I'll bring that up here as part of my presentation with the overall plan that the Clyde Companies has for this North Gateway. This 4G strategy really fits in that they are planning substantial commercial development on the new corporate headquarters site, as well as to the north on the northwest corner of the intersection, and which will balance out the ability to provide potential residential on these east side parcels.
So let me make sure I understood that. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So the northwest side will be businesses, while across the street behind 7-Eleven, behind McDonald's will be mixed use.
The current plan, we don't have any applications, but the current discussion with the Clyde
That's the
companies
conversation.
has been that to provide a primarily retail commercial development at the northwest corner,
Northwest would be
Joe
residential.
Bandito's corner.
That would be residential as well?
No, commercial retail.
Oh, I thought you said commercial residential.
And then
Across the street, yeah. Okay.
on the northeast,
Yeah.
on the parcel with the limited frontage, the current talk is to pursue primarily residential development on that
Yep.
piece with mixed use development on the parcel to the south behind the 7-Eleven.
Great.
So as staff, we recommend that you as the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed general plan land use amendment to the City Council as staff feels that and asserts that it meets the policy goals stated in the general plan and will achieve the goals there to create high quality development and a node and gateway in a place that before this has really not had cohesive planning and an aim towards making it a gateway into the city. That's my presentation on that item. Are there any questions for me from the commission? And also, although community development is the applicant on this item, we do have a representative from Clyde Companies here that could answer any questions that they're willing to answer regarding to their specific proposal, just for your information.
I have a question. So I'm basically going to go off of the businesses that are there, McDonald's, right there. Just eat that property that's east of McDonald's before you get into the existing residential on 150 East. Is there a reason that was excluded out, or is that?
That parcel is actually, that land is part of the McDonald's parcel and is encumbered by the land lease to that user. It's not a separate parcel.
So we can't plan for it depending on who owns it, or?
We can. I guess to the question, why didn't we do anything else? We're currently, as you're aware, working on updating our general plan and rewriting or greatly revamping our zoning code. We plan to come back to this area and make holistic changes, but in order to accommodate the timeline of the development group, we're looking at these two pieces separately, but with the understanding that it aligns with what we want to do altogether. And really, the Clyde company has essentially controlled all the developable land in the area, so we're no longer concerned about somebody doing something contrary to our plan in that gateway intersection.
I was just looking at this. The only access really to that north parcel is off of State Street,
Correct.
and then if there's I think on the planning, not landowning people, that you would say, well, we would like to open that up as a possibility for, you know what I mean? You have access
Yes.
off of 1400 North,
And
but that could happen later. But
yes, that's the plan to accommodate that
Okay.
if it's ever becomes a possibility with that property owner.
okay, that was my only question.
I have one quick question. I don't mean to get in the weeds, but
Please.
I'm going to ask this question. In terms of, and I know this probably come later when it goes to the council, but in terms of green space, stuff like that, I know that with the one down here, there's not a lot of green space. I think it's great. I still think those condos are great, but there's not a lot of green space. When the actual plan comes to fruition, is there an opportunity to talk about green space, the amount of green space that will be in these areas?
No. That's really where we come back to the policy or the legislative versus administrative delineation we talked about earlier in the training. What you're doing right now is changing a general plan designation. It's not regulatory. The next item you will hear is to consider applying zoning to this property.
Okay.
That zoning lists all the requirements as to how much open space is required depending on
So that's a second item.
So the second item is applying the zoning, and then when we get an application, all we do is say, does this application follow the rules? So there's no longer any discretionary hey, I'd like a little more open space. Well, the code says 12%, whatever the number is.
So the conversations we've had with other places where we have increased the green space through conversation, that could not apply here?
No, because any conversations we've had kind of in that proffering, what are you going to provide or not, those are all had at the legislative level. So like with Westfield Central, that we were writing a new code for that, so we were making the rules in that case. With the Main Street South Gateway Zone, we've already adopted the rules. We can always change those rules, but right now later on in the meeting, we'll review applying a set of rules that exist on our books to a specific piece of property. We can always, as part of that discussion, it's absolutely appropriate to say, I don't think this set of rules is the right rules for this area.
That's all I was asking. That's great. Thank you.
Can I follow up on Ralph's question? I thought it was really interesting. I mean, that's the only ingress or egress, right,
Right.
off of State Street. Josh, as a planner, I don't know this, but how does transportation change typically between commercial use and mixed use? So that's I tried to get chips and salsa right there the other day, and it's really at the right times of day, it can be really packed. So I'm just curious how transportation changes in that one spot on State Street.
Generally, residential uses generate substantially fewer trips than commercial uses. So that means I got to de-jargon. You get more traffic with commercial than you do residential, generally. If it's a warehouse run by robots and there's 2 people there, that can be an exception. Or if, it's student housing.
Or trailer storage.
Or trailer storage. Yeah. So, but generally, commercial use is based on the standards we use to determine transportation impacts. Residential is generally a lower trip rate and not as, and it's more spread throughout the day than commercial trips, which often occur at the AM and PM peaks.
Which, if you were, it's a shame you weren't appointed a few weeks ago, because we talked about our public infrastructure plan update,
The transportation
master plan update, which our city has looked at those trip requirements, and they do look at those specific uses and what is generating more versus less, and making sure that our infrastructure can handle it at least.
Correct. And there are, to your point, some substantial planned changes and upgrades to the access management in that corridor as part of the larger development to make that much more logical and safe.
Is there a reason for not adopting this now to say, yeah, we want to apply it to this other bit parcel? Kind of hung up on that a little bit. I'm just trying to see, is there a reason we don't do that now?
We could. You could not do that tonight because it would require notice to the property owner. Another reason we didn't is just to make this as simple as possible.
Would it affect the way the property owner was able to use their property, right?
On the McDonald's piece?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, that whole property is encumbered by that lease, so it actually...
Understand.
We'd be glad if it could change, but it's not an imminent thing. But you could immediately come back and do that, but we hope to be doing that within the year with the general plan and zoning update.
Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions for Josh. I'd like to invite the applicant to say something if they wanted to, if they're here.
Hi, my name is Spencer Warren. I'm, I guess the applicant or pre-applicant is maybe a better term for the moment. I represent the Clyde companies. We're excited to be doing work in the city of Springville, and we're happy to be coming home. That's really what it is. This is part of our development that we are looking forward to bringing to the city. These 2 parcels in particular that we're talking about, as Josh has mentioned, will be primarily residential areas where we feel like we can add a new component to the city that will help foster the at-home feeling, and so we're looking forward to this. Are there any other questions you have for me? Great. Thank you.
Sorry, I do. I have a question.
Please.
And understanding, maybe I'm the cart before the horse, and I'm new for everybody in the audience, in case you didn't know. You caught some of our training video, so you know we're new. In order to get to the zoning point, this might be a more specific question. We have to make this change, I believe, in order to have a substantial zoning conversation. So I guess I'm curious about what this looks like as we discuss making this change. Like, what can we expect? Do you have any ideas or companies, or what can we expect the development to look like here? Do you have any way to show that to us, or help us understand what it's going to look like as we change the
Sure.
policy and zone?
I don't have a way to show it to you before the application is sent in.
Right.
Afterwards, there'll be some exhibits and specifics you can look at there. For these two, the two specific pieces of land that we're talking about, they'll be primarily residential, with the exception of a small portion that fronts Main Street next to the 7-Eleven that we're hoping to do a couple of commercial buildings, but small stuff. On the opposite side of the street where Joe Bandito sits right now, we are envisioning a commercial mixed-use community commons kind of a space with hopefully some office space, some food and beverage space, some community gathering area, and so does that answer your question? Give you enough for now?
Yeah, and I read in the packet townhomes.
Yes.
Can you help us? Like, what? I have a lot of different ideas of what that could look like in my head.
Yeah, certainly. The vast majority of the townhomes will be on the Provo side of the line, so north of where Joe Bandito sits right now. There are some townhomes that we're planning to put into these other two properties over there. They will look, it's undefined at the moment, but the way I imagine it at least is 4 to 5 unit row homes of 2 stories, thereabouts. Again, this is all conceptual and subject to change, but that's the vision for the moment.
That's in the two that we're discussing.
Yes.
Not over on. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Josh. Thank you for explaining a little bit more. And at this time, we'd like to open a public hearing. And if you do come up for the public hearing, we'd ask you that you say your name. Don't need to say your address or anything, but we do ask that you keep your comments brief. And that if you hear something that has already been said, that maybe you can just agree or consent that you were agreeing with a previous comment rather than repeating comments, just because we know there's going to be a few comments. And so with that, we'd like to open the public hearing for anyone that'd like to come say something.
Seeing that no one is coming forward, I move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Motion passes. The next item on our legislative agenda is along the same, with the same parcels, but now we're looking to do the zoning map change.
Sorry, was that a motion to close the public hearing,
that was a
or is
motion,
that a
yeah.
motion to accept?
So now is there any more discussion on this item? That's my bad. And maybe based on what we were talking about earlier, maybe we can just kind of go down the line. If anyone has anything to say, they can. And we'll start over on the other side over here, and you can say something. If not, just...
I don't have anything right now.
Okay.
I think, as far as I understand the general plan as it reads and what the intention was, I think that it does follow, that this change would still follow what the general plan had in mind. It just kind of narrows it. So I'm supportive of it.
Nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
I don't have
Any
anything.
comments? Yeah.
Anything else either? I mean, I just agree with Raya, not Mariah. On it seems to be an alignment. So if that is the case, I would entertain a motion on that item.
I'll move to forward a recommendation to approve of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendment to the general plan future land use map designation from commercial to mixed use for parcels 2301500050 and 2301500051 located approximately 1450 and 1300 North Main Street based on the findings in the staff report.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Now we will move to the second item in our legislative agenda. Josh, that's you, and just step 2, I believe.
I thought by step 2 you meant like
Wrap up.
Let's go, Josh.
So the current zoning designation on these 2 parcels is highway commercial for the parcel to the south and professional office for the parcel to the north. And this is one of those odd instances where the zone boundary does not line up with the property boundary regarding the property to the south that Ralph was talking about. But for this parcel under consideration, it's PO, and down here it's the highway commercial zone, which is really what it says. It's a general kind of auto-oriented highway commercial zone. So the proposed zone is the Main Street South Gateway zone, which we have applied to date to the block formerly known as Allen's, 4th and Main, and then to properties south along Main Street to 8th South. And we've had 2 projects constructed under the Main Street South Gateway zone. The townhomes located to the rear of the Jefferson School at 8th South and 100 East, and the Art City Auto Body Tech Center, which is nearing completion and looking really nice.
Looks nice, yeah.
The Main Street South Gateway zone allows a broad mix of residential and commercial uses. It does require commercial uses on the ground floor of any building fronting on Main Street, which aligns with what was shared earlier about the intentions of the property owner. It calls for leads to development patterns that resemble a traditional downtown form, and it has design standards that require the use of high quality and durable materials, and it also has flexibility to accommodate transitions to surrounding existing development. Whereas the highway commercial and professional office designation are primarily auto-oriented site design, like what you have there. They drive, being a single use, they are often less vibrant, but in the case of the 2 uses there, there's quite a lot of activity at 7-Eleven and at McDonald's as their kind of 24/7 uses. But one of the key things in the HC and the PO zones is it doesn't have any regulations requiring buildings to address the street well. It's less concerned with how buildings relate to the public realm and what kind of place they create outside of their property. The zoning in the MSSG zone includes height and form transition standards that protect nearby residential areas. It steps down building scale where appropriate, and hopefully, we've seen a couple projects built, but the intent of the code and its regulatory framework is to mitigate impacts related to massing and intensity. So it's really built to avoid large kind of monolithic boxes in terms of development. Now, in the Main Street South Gateway zone, it does have different height requirements or height provisions than the PO and the HC zones. In the professional office zone, the max height is 35 feet. In the highway commercial zone, the max height is 75 feet, which is quite tall. And then in the Main Street South Gateway zone, the maximum height is 45 feet, but that can only be reached under certain provisions and not actually right against Main Street. You have to step that 4th floor back. When we're adjacent to existing development, the PO in the highway commercial zones both are limited to 35 feet at a 35-foot setback. And then for each foot they are farther away from the adjoining residential zone, they can go a foot higher. So go to that full 75-foot height. A building on the southern piece under the HC zone would have to be 75 feet away from that back property line. So not quite as deep as probably most of those lots. Whereas the highest you are going to get at any point in the Main Street South Gateway zone is 45 feet, but only 35 when you're adjacent to the existing development.
How tall is the Art City building, just for reference? Do you know?
The Art City building.
Art City Auto Body.
The
Ooh.
tech center.
I would guess it's in the realm of 30 feet to the top of the parapet, maybe a little taller. It's about 14 feet to the structure on the main floor, and then it's probably another.
Glass is probably 12 feet.
Yeah, and it's another probably 10 feet upstairs.
How
So it's
tall
probably.
is the rocket?
Oh,
How tall is it?
I barely know where the rocket is from. That's how much of a newbie I am. The kind of gold standard height comparison we often use is the Reynolds block, which is 53 feet high.
Yeah, that's
And that I know.
Does the area next to Main Street on these properties meet the requirement away from residential to go up to the 45 feet?
No, it would be limited to 35 feet adjacent to the existing property, up to a certain distance away, and then between 50 feet and 25 feet, it can kind of climb on an angle between those two heights from the 35 feet up. So it's a similar provision to the 1 foot for 1 foot in the standard code, but a little more limiting.
Do you know the height of the Reynolds building, Josh?
Yes, 53 feet
53.
to the top of the parapet.
So is there a height restriction from the street side or just from the property?
There is on the
surrounding?
street side as well under the Main Street South Gateway zone. It's not a provision I love, but it's one that was a result of the process of adopting the zone. You can't go to 45 feet right on Main Street. You have to essentially step back that fourth floor a certain distance from the front of the building to be able to go up to the full height.
Do you remember how far back that was?
Not off the top of my head, but I can quickly.
That's okay, I'm just curious. So that's
It's somewhere in the realm of 20 feet.
25 feet, so it's gonna step back and up, so we're not,
Yes, and while we really do, and to BJ's earlier questions, we really do need to, as we're doing this, make sure that we're comfortable with what the zone can permit, because anything that it could permit could technically be built. I do not anticipate, and it's not in the plans that have been communicated to me, to build anything on these sites that would start getting up to these maximum heights.
but it could.
But it could. Yes.
Josh, what will the zoning be, or do you think it will be across the street and the rest of the developments from the Clyde company? Maybe that's a question for them, but or what are we planning on doing? Any changes to the commercial?
Right now, the corporate headquarters is being built under the highway commercial zone. That worked for them there, and this body has recently considered some amendments to the highway commercial zone to facilitate some parts of the northwest corner development that gives some additional flexibility under that zone. In the long term, we'll likely apply a zone to this area that is kind of a town center scale zone that's pretty, as we've talked about on the community board, pretty agnostic in regards to uses, as long as the building forms are right. And obviously we don't want noxious or otherwise undesirable uses here, but the zoning will essentially be something to encourage building presence at the street and creating a gateway at that north intersection on Main Street.
Okay.
But the Clyde company's proposed developments are proceeding under the existing zoning.
Which doesn't have the same, sorry, I'm new to the zoning too, but the same building requirements, materials,
Correct.
look, Okay.
Correct.
And the northwest corner, that's the plan, northwest corner, that's the plan there as well, to stay with the existing zone.
Correct. The plan is to make that the application for the development of that site under the highway commercial zone.
Seems, I can't not say it. It seems interesting to me that we have two like kind of separate, not necessarily connected pieces of property. And one of the major justifications for changing the zoning is to create a gateway feel, a placemaking. Yet it seems like it's the only two in the entire gateway that we're looking at doing that.
That's a good comment.
Which seems,
It's an astute observation.
seems
Yeah, good comment.
weird.
Yeah, staff is particularly concerned with making sure that all the corners of that intersection serve to further the goal of making it a high-quality gateway and orienting building presence to the street and creating that type of environment. And we're working as much as possible to make sure that happens.
So there may be a conversation later on to address what BJ's talking about.
No.
So are we?
So what are you working so hard to make it? What are you doing to make it?
Asking very nicely. Honestly.
That's what I assumed.
Because it's already been.
But I think it's a great comment. And it's kind of stuck in my craw now. Yeah.
So
Off that subject a little bit. Maybe we can all marinate for a minute on that. I'm going back to my green space comment. Since we're out, and I'm looking at the pieces that you're talking about. If there's nothing we can do in this meeting to have a conversation about it, then I would speak to our illustrious city council members, our two that are here tonight, and just encourage that as we get further into this, that I hope, and I don't know how that occurs. I know it occurred with West, whatever it's called, but I would hope that we would have a conversation with the applicants about green space, so that it's not just a bunch of close-knit homes with zero park space, zero places for people to congregate and have a good time together. That's my only thought on green space.
and well, I'll just divert to that. If that's a concern with the Main Street South Gateway zone, then the role of the Planning Commission would say we need to change the code, because what the code is delivering doesn't meet our expectations. And we can go, it's at the policy, the rule-making step where we need to have those discussions, because once we've made the rules, case in point with the Northwest and the corporate headquarters site that Clyde is working on, once the rules are in place, our responsibility and our legal obligation is to say yes if they meet the rules. So once an application comes to us, unless it's a legislative application where we're coming up with the new zone to try to accomplish something like Westfield Central, generally we need to have that discussion first. So I'm just going to quickly go to the Main Street South Gateway zone and look at this, because we need to be aware of the requirements. And this code site is brand new, so I'm still very much uncomfortable with navigating it. So ask for your patience.
Good.
So
I'm uncomfortable watching you navigate.
I don't know why things have to automatically scroll. Why do they have to animate? Why can't it just go?
So Josh, while you're pulling that up,
Well, you're trying to.
while you're trying to navigate a new system, let me throw another thing in the right.
That's a really hard question.
So
Well, we are here now.
you're asking nicely, but I guess to piggyback off of what BJ's comment was, is it staff's position that the Main Street South Gateway zone is the best way to achieve what the general plan's intent is currently?
Great way to phrase it.
It's a nuanced question because the current general plan land use designation says commercial, which is essentially just commercial. Go for it.
Yeah.
In terms of the other things we've mentioned of creating a gateway in the north area and some of the provisions or the work we've done on the Main Street North Gateway plan that hasn't been brought to the Planning Commission but has been working through the process and has been seen by the community board. The Main Street South Gateway Zone would be a better tool for implementing those recommendations and some of the other things we've talked about from the general plan than the existing highway commercial zone.
So essentially, it's the best tool that we have to get the results closest to what our general plan says.
Correct. With the caveat that our current general plan says just commercial,
Right.
but with the taking those
Anticipation.
other elements of the general plan that say we should create a node here and create a gateway. The Main Street South Gateway Zone is a better set of rules for doing that than the highway commercial zone. The highway commercial zone is essentially State Street and Orem.
Yeah.
Or even a local context, Smith's and the retail out in front of Smith's.
Yes, that's yes. It's not highway commercial, but it gives you the same
Essentially,
result.
you could do the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yes. Lot coverage and landscaping to
can
Brett's question.
One more follow up on that because I'm confused. So, what's the trigger? You said something about we're legally obligated to, as long as it conforms to the current. What's that trigger? We can't rezone or change.
You
the
can
land use?
always recommend amending the zone map. If someone has submitted an application, they're vested under the code that was in place at the point of their application. We can't change the rules after someone has made an application, but we can change the rules, but the rules will not apply to that application.
Right.
But at any time, the Planning Commission can recommend to the City Council to amend the zone map or amend the provisions of any specific zoning ordinance.
Okay. And again,
So
because
no application has been made there that would technically prevent the Planning Commission from changing the rules for that site or recommending the City Council change the rules for that site.
on the west side,
Correct. Any of those pieces.
Okay. that answers my question.
Well,
Except the corporate headquarters, it's already approved. and
so
going.
yeah, the corporate headquarters.
Well,
But
I think
it answered your question. But the next question then is, would we like to pursue this? And if so, how would we do that? Pursue a suggested change.
Suggested overall zone change.
Yeah.
what kind
You-
of change are you pursuing?
I think you would.
I don't know.
I think you would.
But this conversation has got me thinking. Just because the other side of the road, I feel like does philosophically meet with the expectations of the South.
I think you would
Gateway.
direct staff to bring forward a proposal, bring forward an application to you to do that, and then you could act in your legislative capacity to make a recommendation to the City Council on that.
Hey, sorry, Ralph, go ahead.
Well, I think the one challenge that we have to be careful about as a planning commission is people go out and buy property with an investment idea that we're going to develop this to a certain way, certain method based on what the zoning and everything else is. Obviously, that can change at any time, but we've had people come before that were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that changed. Well, they could have come to the meetings, they could have done all those things. But I think as a body, we want to try to have a consistent policy that kind of moves through in a systematic way that I think will help us. So if we want to do that kind of thing, like you said, make a gateway, we need to like move forward with that, but we also probably need to do it as partners with landowners or any of the other people in the area to make sure that it's consistent with, you know what I'm saying? If we decided, hey, we want to put a commercial zone in your neighborhood, the neighbors would want to know that, how's this affect my life? I bought that piece of property, my kids were gonna build on it, I was gonna build a house. Now I can't build a house. So I'm just saying, I think that that's really good. I think these are great ideas and things. We just have to be consistent so that we can encourage investment at the same time, allow for some, not just everybody has to hurry up and get their application in, you know what I mean, to keep the code, because it may change tomorrow. So that's a difficult part of it. So.
Agreed. And you really highlighted that there are a variety of interests that need to be weighed when we take these kind of actions. There's, the benefits that accrue to the public and to the city itself as an organization financially and fiscally. There are the interests of the private property owner. So there is definitely a lot of interest to balance. Yet we do find often in planning, despite our best efforts to work proactively and to look into the future and build plans, that it is often at the point which we are faced with imminent development that these questions get asked, because there is so much out there that often the scrutiny comes when something starts percolating.
Yes, absolutely.
I would also add, though, that in this specific situation, I know that the landowners really are looking to make Springville a better place. And I love that you're having the conversation with them and asking nicely to do it in a great way. And frankly, I think that will be probably the best approach.
Yeah, I want to clarify too. I think that Clyde Company's been nothing but a good partner with the city, and I think that that's absolutely appropriate. I'm curious, Josh, as you've worked with other applicants or landowners to create a custom zone, if you will. I mean, side note, drives me nuts. We're going to use Main Street South Gateway Zone on the north. I think that should change to just Main Street Gateway Zone or whatever, because it's not just south anymore if we change this. But is this one of those instances where maybe across the street you can work with the landowner and create a zone that might fit their vision as well as our look and feel desire as a city? Because I think that's part of the South Gateway, the zone is to help inform the look and feel of the development.
Agreed.
So it feels like if it's needed, can we work with them and create one that helps dictate the look and feel while not stepping on their property rights and not telling them, okay, well, you can't put that kind of use or building there? Change the rules of the game after they've started, basically.
This is really, in its essence, a situation where we've been able to have productive discussions, but the degree to which we can do what you want to do or answer your question really becomes a political question.
This is partly why Councilman Smith has been making things more public. He's putting it out on social media after each of these meetings, trying to get more visibility to this so more people can get involved.
It's a political question of how the interface between you as a planning commission and the city council and a property owner, and a particular property owner in this case, how that dynamic works.
Thank you.
Thanks for entertaining the conversation.
Absolutely. Do you want to drop back to the lot coverage and landscaping? So the philosophy in the Main Street South Gateway Zone is to consolidate green space on a development basis. So you can see in this subnote or footnote 3, well, it's actually not a footnote, they just formatted it weird. In subsection 3, these requirements shall not apply to individual townhome lots, but each townhome development must meet these requirements with common space if no such space is provided on individual townhome lots. So often when we have more compact development, it makes a lot more sense to bring space together and make it usable instead of everybody having a useless 5-foot side yard. And it's also based on lot size, because if we keep the same landscape area requirements independent of lot size, it creates a regressive development burden on smaller lot sizes, because it really has a bigger impact. So if you have a lot size less than 10,000 square feet, and this is the whole development parcel, if you're less than or equal to 10,000 square feet, you can cover 90% of the lot and have 5% minimum landscaped area. From 10,000 to 40,000 square feet, almost an acre, that drops to 80% for maximum lot coverage and 10% for minimum landscaped area. Once you get to 40,000 square feet, you're down to 60% maximum lot coverage and 10% minimum landscaped area, which may not look any different if you chop that back up into smaller parcels, but the efficiency that you have and the design constraints that change as the parcel size changes allows us to say, yeah, you can actually cover as much of a big site as you can a smaller site. Like our downtown buildings from 3rd South to 2nd South, they're pretty much 100% lot coverage. And if we said, oh, you can only cover 80% of your site, we'd be like, it wouldn't result in the form of development that we're looking for.
Yeah.
These two pieces that we're looking at on this north side.
Just pull up your presentation. It's in there, right?
apps.springvilleutah.gov. This southern piece is 4.92 acres, so well above the 40,000 square feet. And this northern parcel is 3.33 acres, which is again well above that 40,000 square feet. So even if this front piece were to be parceled off into a separate parcel for the commercial component, you would still have a big enough piece that it would require 10% landscaped area.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Are you interested in looking at any of the other specific provisions of the code?
Nope.
Okay. And in general, if you ever, as commission members, or go out and say, hey, I know that this project was built under this zone, and I don't like this thing about it, let's come and talk about it. Because like Meg Ryan said in her presentation, your real key role is continual refinement of the code. And I think Brent said the same thing, or Brent Bateman said the same thing. So if you see things that, that maybe didn't work, or things that, hey, I really liked that, we should do more of that, that really helps inform what we do. I am multiple times a week wandering around Westfield Central going, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is going to get me hung, those type of things. And it's led to improvements as we've done,
Just blame Hunter.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Scapegoat. Good. Thanks for identifying that.
Let me ask you a quick question though. What prevents someone from taking a 40,000 parcel and cutting it up into 4 separate parcels? Is it you have to have roads access? What is?
Yes, every parcel has to have frontage on a street.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't go interior.
And that has to be a public way. It can't be a private road.
Correct. Springville doesn't do private roads. For some, for townhomes, they can front on a common court or a pedestrian green, or what in other zones we call a pedestrian green street. But yes, everything needs to front.
So Josh, can you pull up the map? That's really loud, but they said to speak into it. But now I want to speak back here.
Thank you, Mariah.
YouTube just got their first comment of the night.
Can you go back to the map, and if somebody wanted to break that piece up that you had highlighted here on the south side, you're over it. They wouldn't be able to there. Well, they would on the one side because of 1400 North, correct? Because there's street access there, so they could do it into 2.
Yes,
Am I understanding that?
Without the introduction of additional public streets,
Yes.
This could not be really subdivided beyond. Well, I mean, there's frontage. You could do a lot like this and a lot like that, and a couple lots here.
Yeah.
So you could further subdivide it. But in terms of meeting the minimums, if that was done as part of the development, like say on the Allens block. The Allens block is 4th and Main.
Mm-hmm.
It is now, and under the previous development proposal, was anticipated to be multiple lots. We considered that block under the code to be the parcel, and these lot coverage and landscaping apply to the parcel, the development parcel.
Because how big is that full space?
4.92 acres. So 5 times.
No, the Fourth and Main.
Oh, it's 3.82 acres.
So you're saying that based off the legislative action that's been taken, that cannot be broken up into multiple lots on 4th and Main?
It can be broken up into multiple lots.
But the landscaping is addressed.
Is based on the development. So if they say, hey, we're going to do a bunch of different parcels, they can't just apply the 10,000 square foot lot coverage for 3.8 acres.
Gotcha.
We'd
Understood.
say that's a development, and how are you meeting the landscaping?
Okay, thank you.
So the staff's recommendation is that the zone map amendment is consistent with the planning objectives listed in the general plan, and particularly with the general plan as you've recommended it be amended, and that it implements the intended vision and really has the best set of rules we have for making attractive, high quality development. It's really the only zone we have other than kind of our village center transit oriented zone and some downtown zones that has good or any design controls in it. And that was a big part of the original adoption of the code, to make sure that the built results would be in character with Springville and be something that we'd be proud of for a long time. So based on that and the analysis and that you see in your staff report, staff again on this item recommends that you make a recommendation of approval to the proposed zone map amendment to the City Council. And I'll take any additional questions you may have.
Good job, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Any comments? Anyone? Okay.
Covered it.
Well, at this time, we would open a public hearing. Again, if you come up to mention or make a comment, we ask that you identify yourself with your name and keep your comments brief for others to be able to do so.
I move that since there's no one coming to the podium that we close the public hearing.
Got a motion
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, close the public hearing. Now, any other discussion amongst commissioners?
Can I,
Covered it.
sorry, Hunter, to insert myself. I just wanted to clarify, I didn't really mention this. We've been trying to improve our public noticing, our outreach on these type of items, and just so you know, especially when we don't have anybody at the public hearing, that may look like, oh, did they tell anybody? We did post this with all their standard procedures on the state website and all of those things. We made a Facebook post that actually got pretty good involvement, more about 60 some odd comments. And then we did hang flyers with rubber bands on all the streets immediately to the east on both sides of those streets, and commandeered my sons to help me do that. The 7-year-old said, I really like doing this, Dad. I'm like, you have a future. So
You gotta run for office.
You're just teaching him how to doorbell do it.
I gotta get them to stop running across the lawn, so I'm gonna run for office. But yeah, so we did flyer the neighborhood, and I hope I feel like we did a good job.
Good job. It sounds like you did a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, well, no one has anything else to discuss? Okay, there's no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Springville Community Development amendment to the official zoning map to apply to Main Street South Gateway Zone to parcels 231550 and 2315-051, located at approximately 1450 and 1300 North Main Street.
So, can we modify that? Because you said move to approve instead of move to,
No, move to
recommend.
To recommend, sorry.
So if you want
Yes, that's what I would make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that passes. That is everything we have on our legislative session agenda. Is there anything else from staff for us as commissioners? Josh?
Since everybody's always curious, and we got a media inquiry recently about Buc-ee's isn't coming anymore. That's not true. We got
What isn't coming anymore?
we had a media inquiry asking us, we heard Buc-ee's isn't coming anymore. Well, it's not what we've heard. On Friday, we received a complete application for their site plan approval. They'd previously submitted, and it wasn't complete, but we've worked through that, and on Friday, we accepted their complete application, and it is currently in our design review committee for review.
Yay.
Cool.
So, and then the other one that people often ask about on the Winco has submitted a site plan application that's not quite complete yet, but I anticipate that will be complete and ready for review here soon.
Where's that going?
It's going directly south of Judd Harward's house on the west side of 1750 West, south of Center Street.
Yeah.
Basically dead center between Center and 4th South, backing up to the freeway.
Great.
I did have just a quick question maybe before we wrap up. So, say we are doing our due diligence as commissioners and we do see a zoning update or a change or something we'd like to recommend. Would that be handled in the administrative sessions as a suggested item that we would want to discuss? Or how would the best way to do that?
That's a really good question. On the city council, items are placed on an agenda, either by the mayor or by, a vote of a couple planning commission members. Often if an individual, city council, if an individual city council member has a question, we'll often bring it to a work session and kind of get, bring the topic and our take on it and get some general direction from the council, like on the transportation utility fee, which we've been discussing recently, kind of a head nod of, yes, move forward with bringing us a proposal on this.
Okay.
Keep going. So I think it would be appropriate to, especially as the chair, to say, hey, can we put an item on in the administrative session for discussion? And we may need to take a look at the bylaws and see if how we might incorporate the ability for commission members to put that on by a vote. But generally, if you bring something to me, or I hope as you for Hunter, if you bring something to Hunter, there's really no reason why I wouldn't say, hey, yeah, let's put that on an agenda and have a discussion, and we'll give you the background and let you give us some direction.
Okay.
Those are really productive discussions.
So
Yeah,
basically just add something to the agenda then.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think even if there's like Ralph's comments on landscaping requirements, or I saw a couple of things and maybe like verbiage we can refine.
Yes.
That would be something that we can just add to the agenda. So that's more for everybody. If you have something, we can do that.
Well, is it maybe appropriate to, at that time, to maybe give us something in the packet if someone has some concepts or things they want to discuss, so we just don't come cold blind. We want to talk about changing the zone, maybe something that might help is just, I don't know if we can add that to the, because we're given something Friday to review for Tuesday.
Right. Generally what would happen is somebody would say, I want to talk about this, and we'd put it on the agenda for discussion. It wouldn't be for action.
Okay.
And we'd
Discuss it.
come and I'd give you a background on it. We'd have a discussion, and then you could kind of look at me and say, yeah, don't put any more work into that. Right. Or yeah, go bring us, go keep working on that and bring us an actual item for consideration.
And that's why that would be part of the administrative session.
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone.
I second.
I move that we adjourn. Oh, this meeting.
Did you?
I do.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And Heather looked up, Art City Auto Body is 33 feet tall.